I'm doing these video blogs on various environmental issues that follow out of a report I did to the Legislative Assembly recently on the lack of capacity within the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Ministry of Environment. The capacity, by that I mean the money, the people, and the expertise necessary to do the job that we expect of them. As part of that report, I did a number of case studies to support the argument, and this is the 5th blog that outlines one of those case studies. Of course, they're all available online in the report. I want to talk about the aggregate production in Ontario. What's aggregates? Well, that's stone, sand, and gravel production. That's regulated under the Aggregate Resources Act by the Ministry of Natural Resources. It's a big business, and it's essential to the economy. And we consume in Ontario 175 million tons of aggregates each year. That's about 14 tons per head. And that's an amazing amount of material that we're moving around this province. And notwithstanding the economic importance of that, the economy would stop without it. It has potential for significant environmental impacts, and sometimes those occur. The pits and quarries, there's initial disruption of the land, but in their operation they can have dust issues, noise issues, various kinds of air quality. There can be potential for spills or environmental problems associated with water quality, either surface water or groundwater quality. So there's a number of things that can go on and that wouldn't be good things at aggregate pits, and of course that's why every time one is proposed, there's a fair amount of public outcry and resistance from the local area, usually. But nonetheless, we have to get aggregates, we have to function. And there's another aspect of aggregate production, and that is the Aggregate Resources Act requires that these lands that are so disturbed when they blast out holes or dig out holes in the landscape, they have to be rehabilitated to some end use. And that's done according to a plan. It's part of the approval process. You have to have a rehabilitation plan. So lots of going on, and it has to be done right at aggregate operations, and therefore there are laws and rules that have to be complied with, and there should be inspections done to make sure that those rules are complied with. And there is a group of people at the Ministry of Natural Resources whose job it is to inspect aggregate facilities. There's a lot less than there used to be. In the mid-90s we cut them back by, I think, over half. So there are fewer, have been up to recently fewer aggregate resources inspectors, and as a result, not many inspections are occurring. In fact, up till recently there's been some changes, but up till recently there was each inspector had about 600 facilities to inspect. Well, obviously you can't do those very often. They had a target to achieve compliance that for private land pits and quarries, that they would inspect 20% per year. In fact, that hasn't been happening in recent years. Often it's only about half that many, about 10%, maybe up to 13% of these facilities are inspected in a given year. And as a result, there are complaints, there are problems that aren't dealt with. So the whole question of, aggregate operations, it's actually a double-edged sword, because, of course, as I said, we need these. We use it for our roads and our buildings and all the various and sundry uses. So if the industry falls into a situation where the people are angry and resentful towards the aggregate operations, that's not good for anybody, because we have to make the economy work. But of course, the main issue is the effects on the environment and the ultimate rehabilitation. And in fact, the rehabilitation doesn't seem to be keeping pace with the amount of disturbance that's occurring, and that shouldn't be the case. So it all comes back to these inspectors, and are there enough of them? Now recently there's been a change, a little bit of good news. They've revamped the fees, or the royalty that they pay on a ton of aggregate when they extract it, and that's allowed the government to hire some more inspectors, which is good. But at the same time, the government expanded the area where these rules apply. And previously it was quite restricted. It was in Southern Ontario, basically, few locations in Northern Ontario. Now they've expanded the area of Ontario where you need an aggregate license and there has to be inspectors and such. So the people they've hired have more sites to inspect. So that takes away from some of the benefit of having a few more inspectors. So we're still in a situation. Where aggregate production is necessary, but it does have environmental impacts. We need to achieve compliance. We need to have the rehabilitation that's expected by the law and expected by the people of Ontario. And we just don't have enough people in the Ministry of Natural Resources and enough resources allocated to to get these inspections done and bring things into compliance. It's frustrating for everybody. So although there are some improvements, there's a clear case in aggregates where more capacity is necessary at the Ministry of Natural Resources in order to do the proper job of administering the land and looking after the natural resource of aggregates, and as well as the landscape of Ontario.